Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Wow, look at all the people here. Very exciting. And I recognize so many faces, and either I could look at it two ways. It's a joy, which it is, a joy to see those students that I've had in classes, and of course the classes that I could probably tell a story about. The two classes would be adventure programming, that pamper pole Ellery, where's Ellery? And group dynamics, right? So those are the major classes that I taught with all of you folks. So it's a pleasure to look out to the audience and see familiar faces. And of course, the rest of you, it's a pleasure to have you here as well. So don't feel like you're out of place at all. My name is Renee Kessler, and I teach in the Therapeutic Recreation program here at Longwood. And this is a good session for me to have prepared, because I'm moving into my 30th year here at Longwood. And now don't start, putting the dates and times together. But I realized over that 30 years that it's taken a lot of growth. And when I came here on a one-year appointment. And that 1 year turned into 2 years, turned into 5 years, turned into 15 years, and I'm in disbelief that I'm here almost 30 years. When I first came here, I met a professor in our department, Eleanor Bobbitt. And Sue Smiley, you probably remember Eleanor Bobbitt, or anybody else. Eleanor Bobbitt. And when I met her the very first year I was here, she had said that she had been here 30 years. Well, I thought I was going to faint right in front of her. I thought, how can anybody work 30 years in a profession? And at that point in time, I was moving around the country about every 2 and 3 years, moving from job to job. For those of you who know my background, I love adventure, I love change. And I was finishing up graduate work, and so I came here and I thought, well, this would be a fun thing to do for a year. And then, as I said, it moved into, and now I am here at 30 years. So as I was preparing this, I was going through the stages that I went through over these 30 years. But I was also thinking about you folks. I knew when I came to this conference that I would meet students who had graduated just in a year, and those who have graduated much longer and been in the field for much longer than a year. But even in a year, you realize that maybe you might be on the wrong bus, or you find that you needed some added stimulation. And when we're talking about growth, we're not talking about physical growth. We're not talking about height and weight and those kinds of things. Although, if you've been at an institution for long enough, those things tend to vary and change, right? And they certainly have for me. But we're really talking about this. We're really talking about brain stimulation. We're talking about maintaining and increasing your enthusiasm and your energy and your drive and your motivation and your interest in what you do. Because if you don't continue that, you're going to cut yourself short. And then when you think about meaning in your own life, that also limits you. John Maxwell, who I've really gotten to know, at least in literature and in the books that he's written, he said, 2 most important days of your life are the day that you were born and the day that you discovered why. Wow. When I first heard that quote, it rang a bell to me. Wow. Am I still on that road? Am I still sort of navigating my way through that? And I can't answer that for you, but as you sit there and as we go through this, I would venture to say you're going to sort of be thinking through that process and what that means for growth for you in this. So let's go ahead and move forward. And 2 questions I want you to ponder as we move through this is, 1, what am I doing to develop myself? And 2 is, what am I doing to develop others? And this is a really important field to be thinking about that, because this is what we do, isn't it? We're always thinking about how we're developing and improving the quality of life for other people. But in the midst, are we missing something with us? And it's really a dual balance between the two. All right? So this is what I want to accomplish in this session today, is I want us to recognize areas in your personal, but more important, professional lives that lack growth. 2 is identify 3 key concepts to developing growth. And then thirdly is implement growth adjustments in your work and your future endeavors. Now, if you find yourself at a place in your work that you are set to go, you've got the energy and the motivation, then that's great. But maybe you can make some application to your personal life. Maybe there's a stalemate in your personal life. So whatever suits you and however you can use this information to improve the quality of life for yourself, and in the process contributing the quality of life to others out there, then it's a win-win, right? Yeah. All right. So this green thumb concept. Has anybody ever heard of it before? No, you haven't. I made this up. I created this concept. At first I called it a theory, and I thought, well, it's not really a theory, it's a concept. And this is the idea behind it, and this is what I want you to put in the back of your head as we move forward. The green thumb theory, to me, is I don't have a plant in my house. Now, I'm an outdoorsy girl, and that might be a surprise to those of you who know me that I don't have a plant in my house. And as I go to other people's houses and I look at their plants, and they're beautiful and they're lively and they're in the midst of growing and they're green and they look absolutely gorgeous. And I'm jealous of those people. Because I look at my house and there's not a plant around. And it's because I am very good at killing a plant. I either water it too much, or I don't water it enough, or go away for a few days or a week or 3 months, and I forget that the plant is still there, and I come back and it slowly has that droopy death, right? Plus I have cats. Now, not all cats eat plants, but in the past I've had cats that like the leaves and like to dig in the dirt, right? So I've told myself over time that I've come up with this green thumb theory that, you know what, I don't have the skills, I'm not doing it. I don't have the ability, I guess I'm not going to do it. So if I continue to think along those lines, if I don't have the skills, I have failed many times, so I'm not going to bring a plant into the house, then I've just stopped myself from moving forward. So the green thumb theory is that I'm going to try to squash that theory with all of you, is to go beyond the thought that you don't have the skills, if you've got this pie in the sky idea, that just because you have failed it in the past doesn't mean you have to quit and just move in a different direction. It's something, if it's something that you really want, and you know what, I really want plants in my house. So as I prepared this, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to get a plant for my house, because I've told myself so many times that I don't have the skills, and I failed so many times with having a live plant and continuing to keep that plant alive over time. Oh boy, here we go. So you're sitting next to some lovely person, right? So this is what I want you to do, and I'm going to time you to do this. I'm going to pull up a series of questions, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Actually, each person will have 15 seconds to answer the question to each other, and I'm going to tell you when to transfer the next person, okay? So everybody got a partner? Make eye contact with your partner. Make eye contact with your partner. Now, if it's somebody you don't know, I haven't even started asking the question. Everybody chatty, chatty, chatty. A lot of girls. Huh? A lot of girls. Okay, so if you don't know the person, you're going to reach out your hand, shake their hand, and introduce yourself, right? Everybody done that? Thank you. All right, here we go. First question. Ready? First question. This is what I want you to do with your partner. What is your narrative about your work? What is your narrative about your life? What that means is when you get up in the morning, I'm like, God, I gotta go to work. I gotta work with these people. I gotta work with this supervisor. I gotta work with these clients. I gotta drive, or I gotta get that DC traffic. Whatever it is. And think about that as it relates to your life as well. So you don't have to go into a lot of detail because remember, you only have 15 seconds to share whatever you think your narrative is about your work or your life. Okay? So I'm going to start the clock at 15 seconds. First person, go. Okay, stop! Okay, next person, your partners, go.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Next question, ready? Are you on the wrong bus? You can interpret that any way you want. Are you on the wrong bus? Ready, go. Okay. Go ahead and switch. Just because I'm just dying to know about this question. How many of you are on the wrong bus?
I don't know.
You're not quite sure if you're on the wrong. Anybody kind of wonder about the bus you're on? It's okay to admit it. Okay, good. Good. All right, next question. When was the last time you did something new? At work, life, whatever. Go. Okay, go ahead and switch.
Not necessarily
Okay. What is revealing about this question? Give me something.
How much you actually don't do that's new?
Yeah. How many of you are a routine kind of person? You love routine. You like routine? That's not by choice. Okay, good. That's a good thought. Okay. So next question. Ready? Isn't this fun? I got too many buttons in my hand. Are you adding value to others? Go. Okay, switch. Okay. Excellent. Everyone gets gold stars already. Yeah. All right, this is the last question. Whoopsie, wrong button, I can't do, okay. Are you ready for change? Go. Okay, switch, go. Wow. Many gold stars around the room. Good. Something to think about. So let's go on and let's think about this. So what are your choices? What are your choices at this stage?
A lot of people back here saying they can't hear you.
Not even going to go, hello?
I can hear you, but a lot of people can't.
Okay, so I will speak louder? That much louder? Okay, I will do that.
Don't you have a mic?
What? It's not. It's to the video back there. Yeah. Okay, so what are your choices? Right? How's that sound? You want to hear me sing, don't you? Change your narrative or change your situation, right? So the first question is, what is your narrative at work or your life? Your brain is telling you something. If your narrative is seeing the glass half empty, there's something amiss in that process about your work, about your life, about other people. And if that's constant, then perhaps it's time to think about altering that, either making the change or change the narrative. And I think we know this in this field. When we begin to change the narrative, things don't seem so bad, do they? When we start speaking in the positive, things don't seem as awful as they really are. But if we're constantly thinking about things as the glass half full, half empty, and tends to be more on the negative side, then everything around us looks like that. When you think blue, you see blue. Right? When you think blue, you see blue. So it's a matter of changing what's up here about your job and your life and the people you find yourself working and your supervisor and your clients and all those things, and magic begins to happen just overnight. Yep. So you have choices here. Second one, get on the right bus. Yeah. How about if you're on your way to New York City and you never wanted to go there anyway, but here you are in New York City. Once I was on not a bus but a train, and I was saying goodbye to a friend who had visited me. This is several years ago. Missed the train in Richmond, sped all the way to Charlottesville, and another friend and I helped my friend get on the train, brought her baggage on the train in Charlottesville, and we're on the train, and my car's in the parking lot, windows down, nice summer day, had a nice camera in the back, we'd been taking pictures, we got on the train, and the train starts moving. I'm on a train moving to wherever, to Chicago, on my way to Chicago. So we get to the conductor, and I have photos of this, and we just like, we gotta get on the train. We can't stop the train started, and we can't stop the train. We thought, what's the next stop? Stanton. So, nothing with this, no money, we got off the train, Stanton. These are the days before cell phone and all those things. So we used a payphone, called someone here in Farmville to come pick us up. But the point is, while we were on the train going to someplace we didn't want to be, we had feelings of anxiety. We had feelings of, what's going to happen? I don't want to be on this train. I can't be on this train. So you think about that if you're on the wrong bus. You can sense that you're on the wrong bus just by what's happening in mentally and sometimes physically. Yeah. Scarcity or abundance? Are you running away or running to something? Running away or running to something? And again, that's something that only you can answer as you sit there and look and resonate on those words. Stay comfortable or take some risks? How many of you remember the comfort circle? Back in the day when we talked about this in our TR classes, right? Yeah, that comfort circle. And we hear it over and over again. Hopefully that keeps coming back to you as you progress in your life. Oh, here we go, stick chick. As my secretary would say, slick chick, but it's not really slick chick, because then slick chick might have a motorcycle or something on it. But so this is what I want you to do with a piece of paper that you found on your chair. And if you don't have a piece of paper, whatever you have in your notebook, go ahead and use. But I want you to draw. You got to draw something. And you're going to have to draw a stick chick. So this is what I want you to do. So in the middle of that piece of paper, and start it out horizontally. You know what I mean by horizontally? You know, like this, just in case. This is horizontally. Yeah, perfect, love it. In the middle of that page, I want you to draw your favorite stick chick. A female stick figure, all right? No, that's what you mean by stick chick. Okay. And you don't have to look at your, although we all do, look at the person next to us and say, well, what's their stick chick look like? What's yours look like? Who cares? It's your stick chick. And you don't have to spend like hours on designing her nails.
I do.
All right, now, you got stick chick in the middle of your page? I want you to draw a circle around stick chick. You got a circle around stick chick? Or slick chick? All right. Now, inside that circle, and we're going to identify that circle as this is kind of your comfort zone. All right? Inside that circle is your comfort zone. So I want you to identify just a couple of words of what you might feel when you are in a comfortable place. A comfortable place in your life, a comfortable place at your work. Just identify some words, some adjectives that would fall into that, within that circle. Just throw some words in there. What's that?
Are we putting them inside?
Inside the circle. Right next to stick chick, inside that circle. All right? Have some words there? Good. Feels good, doesn't it? Oh, a little cozy. Nice flannel pajamas on. On the top right-hand corner of your page, I want you to draw a star. Okay. From the circle where stick chick is to the star, just draw a couple of dotted lines that get to that star. Now the star represents this pie in the sky idea. I had a student a couple of days ago who graduated in 2005 or 6 write me and said, I think I'm interested in creating my own private therapeutic practice. She said, but I'm scared. Wow, okay. That's her star. Seems 100 light years away for her, but that's her star. Now, around that comfort circle, I want you to draw a couple of dotted circles, 2 dotted circles outside of the original comfort circle. Not dotted, but they have lines around them, like dashed lines around the original circle.
Around the whole circle.
Around the comfort circle, yep. So this is like a TR exercise, isn't it? That's great. Someone's speaking to you and you're trying to understand what they're saying. This is great, isn't it? I'm about to show you my stick chick and see how that works. Now, around those other two lines, around the original comfort circle, I want you to identify adjectives or words and feelings that you might experience when you step out of stick chick circle. What are some things you might experience? And you can put them anywhere you want to around those dashed circle. Any kind of words you'd like to put. Now remember the dashed line to the star. Identify 2 or 3 things that you think you need to do to get to that star.
Where do we put them? Where do we put them?
Right here.
Oh.
And the last thing that I'd like to have you add to your lovely photograph that you get to keep and take with you after this session, on the bottom right-hand corner is I want you to draw a circle, and inside the circle write growth zone. Growth zone. Okay. All right, everybody got it? All right, this is my stick chick. Anybody have easy inside their comfort circle? Anybody have that adjective easy? Anybody have safe? Excellent. Anybody have comfortable? Obviously. But you don't have to do much thinking. People talk about routine. There's some comfort in routine, isn't it? You know what to do. You can get up in the morning and do it blindfolded. But oftentimes it doesn't require too much thinking. Sometimes people get, brain headaches because they have to think too much. Yeah, and that's probably a good thing. Although initially it might be really painful, but yeah. And then we have these dotted lines around the comfort circle. Did anybody have fear outside that? Yeah, that's probably the number one. It's really, really scary to move out of that routine, to move out of something that you've come to be so accustomed to. Your coworkers, your clients know you really well, and they come up to you and give you great big hugs and tell you how much they love you. How can you leave something like that? How can you gravitate away from something like that? That feels good to us. How many of you had habit in there? How many of you put the word terrifying to move out of that comfort circle? Any other word that you had? What else did you have down there for another word?
Anxious.
Anxious. Yeah. What was that? Nervous?
Uncertainty.
Uncertain?
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty, yeah. Excellent. What's that?
Judgment.
Judgment? Yeah. Who said that's good? That's good. You get an extra gold star for that one. No, that was good. What did you say, sir?
Failure.
Failure, absolutely. Yeah. Excitement? Oh, some people looked at it a little differently. Excitement. Tabitha says, yeah, I put excitement. I want that change. Okay.
Creativity.
Wow, look at you. See, it's how we look at it, right? What our lens is looking at, how we see what's out there, that pie in the sky. Yeah. And then I'm curious to see the kinds of things that you put the path toward your star. What kind of words did you put there? Anybody have something that they put there? Motivation. Oh, that's a good one. You need that. Perseverance. A lot of perseverance. Hope. Like that word. Confidence. Yeah, all those things. Dedication. Drive. Yep. Practice. Okay. The more you practice it, the more comfortable it becomes, the more safe you feel. Yeah. Anybody put support? Your friends, your family, your husband, your friends, your pets, you know, those kinds of things. Yeah, support. So you get it. So I add a couple of components to that. Danger is real. Fear is not. And so when we talk about fear, it's failure, it's false evidence appearing real, right? We know that's what fear really boils down to. It's false evidence. If you're walking in a field and you see a lion coming toward you, is that real or false? That's the real thing. But if you're in a field and someone has told you a lion, or there are lions in this field, how much more fear might you have when someone tells you about that versus when you actually see it? Which one do you think is going to be greater? The anticipation that there's a lion just around the corner? Because you conjure up sort of this, there might be two lions out there, right? When you actually see it, that's the real thing, and you're going to run. But sometimes people run before they even get to the tall grass, right? Yeah. Fear doesn't prevent death, it prevents life. Yeah? So that word fear, and that's a pretty common term to use when there's a change about to happen. When you're going to be upsetting the apple cart. When you're not quite sure what's just on the horizon. When there's a lot of uncertainty of what's going to happen if you make that change. And there are tons of other variables. It might be moving to another job that pays less, but the rewards are greater. So it depends on what the bottom line is for you. If money is the driving force and money really is a factor, then you have to take that into strong consideration. But you're the only person that can answer those questions. If you're working with a supervisor that inhibits you or doesn't support you in coming in pursuing ideas that you have for the program that you're working with, but you love your clients and you're on the right bus, but your supervisor is inhibiting you to growth, where does that take you? What does it make you feel like? Because you don't know what's going to be on the other side. Maybe you come to another supervisor that doesn't give you that opportunity either. That's where the risk comes in, right? That's where the chances have to come into play. So is change a threat or an opportunity? And that's the big question too. Is change a threat or an opportunity? Sometimes change is because you've lost your job. You don't have a choice but to move on to another place. And sometimes that's the greatest thing. I remember when I was before I came to Longwood, I was working at Texas A&M for the student union in student affairs. And I had applied for a full-time job running the outdoor program at Texas A&M. And it was between me and another person who I happened to know who had applied for this job. She got it, I did not. I was shocked. What? She got the job? I didn't get it? What? I couldn't believe it. But had I gotten that job, I would not have spent the next 30 years of my life at Longwood University. So at the time, I was really, really devastated because that was my vision at the time. I had to adjust my lens and adjust my vision and just where I saw myself going in order for me to be open to the change of coming here. So that was a good thing. So change was great. It was an opportunity. So let's look at 3 laws of growth. We'll look at these. Law of intentionality, the law of consistency, and the law of expansion. And I'm adding a bonus one, is the law of contribution. And when I think about, how many of you have been in your job for more than 5 years? Raise your hand if you've been in your job more than 5 years. Wow. How about more than 10 years? Wow. 15? 20? Wow. 25? Wow. Anybody with me? 30? Wow, that's amazing. I think we need to give them a big hand, don't you think? Yeah. You know, back in the day, when in my parents' generation, nobody moved from their jobs, right? They stayed in their jobs for 150 years. And they stayed in the same town, in the same house, in the same job, and it doesn't matter if they liked it or didn't, they just had to stay there. But we're such a mobile society anymore. So it's a rarity for people to stay in their jobs for more than maybe 10 years. And people talk about every 7 years you're going to change your job, because statistics says you're going to change your job every 7 years. Well, you don't have to. There's enough out there. It's a matter of thinking about these laws of intentionality, of reinventing yourself over and over again. But it requires all those other variables in your workplace in order for those to occur. Supportive environment. A supervisor says, whatever you want. Let's just do this thing. Ideas. Your clients give you support. Your administration gives you support. You're an idea generator. So let's look at the law of intentionality. You have to have intention, direct intention to move forward. So when you think about growth versus goals, how many of you have to write goals every year for your organization that your supervisor requires you to do or asks you to do? You can think about it in 2 different ways. Goals can be check boxes. Right? You can just check about, I did that, I did that, I did that, and then you move on to the next year, next set of goals, 5 goals. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. But there's 2 ways you can look at it. Are they boxes to check off, or are they opportunities for growth? You see the difference? So are they allowing you to accomplish something? Are they little goals that get you to that star, whatever that star is in your own mind? And it can be a star far off into the future. Some people say, I just want to be happy for the rest of my life. Well, that's hard to define that in a star, but it has to be a little bit something that's not as, it needs to be more concrete of what your star might look like, other than just this nebulous term called happiness, right? So growth versus goals. So think about your goals, and I would venture to say the next time you write goals, think about how is it a checkbox to make your supervisor happy, or because these are just, this is what you do every year and these seem to be pretty simplified goals, or are they opportunities for accomplishing something? What am I accomplishing by writing this goal down? Is it bigger than the goal? What's the accomplishment? What's the value that I'm bringing to the table? What's the bigger picture that I'm getting at here when I'm developing these goals? Are they well thought out in your goals? So that's the intention. If your star is to create this new private practice, then when you're talking about these goals, are those goals related to that star? Or they're just related to the things you have to do for your work? Is it narrowly focused, or is it broader to get you in steps toward that star? Whatever that star is for you. Law of intentionality. Law of consistency. How many of you like consistency? How many of you are consistent? How many of you like it when other people are consistent? Why is that? Well, you like consistency because you know what you get, right? There's no surprises along the way. So when you think about consistency, if you've got that star out there and continually think about whatever that star is, From year to year, if you really want that star, consistency really comes into play and can be really valuable. Someone said motivation is really valuable. So match your motivation to your personality type. What motivates me in my job, in my growth, in my star is going to be different than what motivates you. Everybody in here is an individual. So your motivations and what drives you and what inspires you and what your definition of growth is going to be so very different. So think about your own personality style in relationship to your motivations. We are very good at comparing ourselves to other people. So when we begin to compare ourselves to other people, we get ourselves into trouble because it's not us. Man, I can't believe Sally, she started her business and here I am still stuck in this job, the same job that I've had for 10 years or whatever that might be. It's not about Sally, it's about you. So it's a matter of matching what it is that drives you and inspires you to move closer to that star. You have to get up in the morning. And I'm using this as a cliche. You have to have some determination. Sarah, I think you talked about determination. You got to have some determination. You've got to have some discipline. I'm an outdoor girl. I had an instructor back in the day when I first started in this business of outdoor education. He would say, in order to be a leader, you have to get up in the morning. You have to get up in the morning. So he's talking about it in relationship to sleeping in a tent. So if I'm still, as a leader, sleeping in my tent at 10 o'clock in the morning, and my group members are up, they've got a meal cooked, they've got their bags packed, they've got everything packed up and they're ready to go, and they're chomping at the bit waiting for their instructor to get up. That's not a very good example of leadership. But it's applicable to here. Even if you're not a morning person, the cliche is you got to get up in the morning. You have to be able to get up in the morning and say, this is the day that I'm going to make a difference. This is the day that I'm going to bring value to other people. It's, again, changing that narrative so that you become determined and you become disciplined in the direction you want to get to in order to get to that star. Yeah? Focus on today and set immediate goals. So again, those immediate goals are things that are like baby steps that get you to that star, to that major accomplishment that you're seeking. And sometimes you have to wait to appreciate the process. And we've heard all the time that patience is a virtue, right? And it is a virtue, but for some of us it's challenging. And if you're like me, I get impatient. I want things to happen now or yesterday. And I get impatient. But you realize what's most important, we hear it all the time, the journey is more important than the destination. It's kind of true. It really is pretty true. So appreciate those immediate goals that get you closer to that step. And you might even find, even if your star is out this way, you might find a little avenue this way, this way, this way, but eventually it brings you back there if your intentions are strong and good. Law of expansion. This is where you have the ability. Are we okay? We're still okay? Okay, good. Law of expansion. So this is, I love this quote. If it ain't broke, break it. You know what I mean by that? We're not used to hearing that, are we? If it ain't broke, don't break it. Oh no, but how many of you like to come up in there and kind of upset the apple cart? And if you heard either from your supervisors, if you've been the new person on the block, and you come in with an idea and someone says, oh, we have tried that 3 or 4 times and it's never worked. You've heard that comment before, right? It's so common. But then what does it do to us? It's like, oh, okay. Then we go off in another direction and we sort of lost our esteem for wanting to move in that direction because other people say, well, they've used it. But they haven't tried it when you come on board. And they haven't used your motivation and your disposition and the way in which you work with clients and your energy to be able to break something. Break it up. Have a good time. You've heard people, and I know people who wanted to learn about bicycles. So they completely take a bike apart. and they put it all back together again. And it's an adventure. Now, how does this piece get there? And it's challenging, and they're stimulated, and their brain's working. People who work on computers, what do? They take computers apart and put them back together, don't they? It's the same sort of thing. If it ain't broke, go ahead and break it. Make some changes that way, and you can utilize that terminology any way you wish to fit your scenario and your situation at work or in your life. To expand capacity, change your thinking. I can't tell you the power of changing your thinking and how you look at the world around you, and more importantly, of how you look at yourself. If your rhetoric and your narrative tells yourself, I can't do it, I've not done it, I'm not skilled at it, you begin to compare yourself to somebody else, it's going to be really, really tough for you to get to your star. So it's a matter of change your thinking about your clients, your organization, the bus that you're on. If you didn't want to go to New York City, but then you begin to say, well, you know what? New York's not so bad. That's kind of a cool city, great restaurants. You begin to think, New York's not so bad, is it? The place that you work is not so bad. My supervisor, he or she's not so bad, right? So, expansion. Start doing more than is expected. And again, we're talking about the star. It's not about you getting praise and reward for doing more. It's not just about that. Oftentimes people work to get recognition and praise and extrinsic rewards and those kinds of things. But it's not about that. It's about your growth as a human being, to be stimulated and excited and enthusiastic about the field of therapeutic recreation for the rest of your life. It's a cool profession, yeah. So how do you maintain that? Because if you don't, you're cheating your clients. You're cheating the people that you're working with. So it's a matter of you answering that question. Start doing more than is expected. If you got an idea, by all means, give it a go. And you might have to talk to your supervisor a couple of times and give her or him a good justification for your idea. But do it. Because it's really for you, and it's really for the people you find yourself working. And this is the bonus, right? Contribution, law of contribution. Why do you want to grow? Do you want to grow for self, or do you want to grow for others? And it's really a combination of both, for self and for others. If you find that, if you're talking about contribution, if you're growing with knowing that the contribution is going to be for other people, the growth for you is automatic. Because you're thinking about those people out there. If you're growing because you want that recognition and you want those rewards and you want a higher paycheck and you want then you're limiting your law of contribution. So think about your growth in terms of how do I bring value to other people out there. And it seems so silly for this field of therapeutic recreation. That's what we do. That's what got us into this field when we were freshmen. Wow, I can bring quality of life for other people? Sign me up. Well, that hasn't changed. I wouldn't think so if you're still in this profession. We do want to do that, and we find as we continue to do that in unique and creative ways, at the same time we're bringing growth to ourselves, right? Here we go, add value to others. That is a really valuable statement. Adding value to other people. When you get an intern, how many of you have had an intern already? Oh, aren't they fun? Especially the Longwood ones, don't you think? Not that I'm biased or anything, but yeah. So how do you bring value to those interns? How do you bring value to your clients? How do you bring value to your coworkers when they look at you and say, Sarah, man, thank you. I learned a lot from you. That was a cool idea. That stimulated them at the same time. I think that's cool. Think about it in terms of this, a reservoir. Keep it to yourself, or a river flows to others. So it's this whole idea of contribution. Is this idea just mine? Is it just going to benefit me? Or what is the broader aspect of this idea and program. Will it spill out into the community, even outside of my agency? Will it spill out even beyond the community? Maybe the state. Maybe it's such a cool, unique idea that it's going to be nationwide. Whatever your star is. So these are my final thoughts of this. Dissolve the green thumb concept. Right? Just because you don't think you have the skill, just because you've failed a zillion times before, just because you haven't had the opportunity again, doesn't mean you can't get right up on that horse again and start riding. Right? Because if you really, really want it, you don't want to live in the future looking back and say, oh, I should have done that. Darn it. Now it's too late. It's never too late, right? Take Stick Chick on an adventure. Now, for those of you who know, I love an adventure, and you do too. Adventure doesn't mean you have to climb the highest mountain in the world. It really means about stepping out of that Stick Chick comfort zone, right? Get out of that safety zone, that comfort zone, that, oh, it feels good routine zone. You know, that nice flannel pajama zone. Yeah, take Stick Chick on a journey, on an adventure. For the ride of her life, yes. And then lastly, go find some waves. Really tough to surf on a nice, clear, calm lake. You need some waves, don't you? You need some waves to surf on. Woo! Yip-yah! Let's go for that surf. So go find some waves. Shake things up a little bit. And have an adventure. And shoot for that star, whatever that star is. And take Stick Chick with you. Okay? Thank you.